Thank you, President Betty. Normally when I introduce someone, if you know me well enough, I just say, here he is. But anyway, it is indeed my honor to and pleasure to introduce our speaker today, John Baumann. He's an internationally recognized speaker and author. His book, Besides Success, 12 Action Steps to Achieve the Success You Truly Desire, was first published in 2012. A former corporate attorney, John started experiencing the symptoms of Parkinson's in his late 30s. He turned to teaching, writing, and speaking as his new career path. He is not just a living example of practicing what he preaches, but provides the inspiration to his audience to follow his footsteps. And as one recent audience member noted, by the end of John's talk, I was fighting back tears. Not because I have Parkinson's disease, but because he was speaking to the heart of all of us in the audience. He was tapping into the struggle we all have from time to time in our human condition of finding meaning and purpose in our lives and using this as a way of working through hard times. John is from New York. He graduated from the University of Massachusetts with a business administration, as well as Cornell University Law School. He's been a guest commentator on CNN Headline News and Primetime, and has been an inspirational keynote speaker in over 60 symposiums. John is a lifelong, here's a problem. He's a lifelong Red Sox fan.
Go Sox.
Having inherited that condition from his father. And lives life to the fullest, having enjoyed skydiving, Class 5 rapids while whitewater rafting, riding in a float in the Mardi Gras parade in New Orleans, and among other so many amazing adventures. He and his wife, Bernadette, reside in Florida, and most importantly, he is a proud person with Parkinson's. Gentlemen, ladies.
You have a Red Lobster? You couldn't do Caddyshack in your town because they put the Red Lobster. Thank you for having me here. I want to first thank Dick for the nice introduction. I don't know who that person was. But I want to thank the Rotary, and let me tell you why. Back in 1978, my father told me that he didn't have enough money to pay for my college. And I started working at an IHOP. And I worked four nights a week, and it sounded like I went through the snow uphill both ways, and that sort of thing. But I went to the Rotary, and I got a $1,000 scholarship from the Rotary. And that put me over the top. And I wanted to just applaud you for being a member of that organization. And back then, $1,000 was a lot of money. Tuition was $600 a semester in the state school. So it really was very helpful, and I would never have gotten through law school without the Rotary award. So thank you very much for that. What we're going to talk about today is successfully embracing adverse life-changing events. And the question is not what life-changing event you've had, but how many. And it truly is true, because everyone has life-changing events, whether it's bankruptcy, an illness, disease, a loved one having a disease or illness, becoming a caregiver, becoming losing a job, losing a child, whatever. Everyone in this room can relate to life-changing events, adverse life-changing events. And I've had three that are pretty significant. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in my 40s. At 41 years old. I had to leave a profession that I loved. I loved being a lawyer. When I was 48 years old, and then my wife left me when I was 50 years old because she couldn't handle the stress of being so-called caregiver for someone with Parkinson's. And I don't blame her for that, because I don't wish that on anyone. So these all things happen, and how do you successfully embrace something like that? What I do is I wrote a book. And the book originally was, I always wanted to write a book. Because my mother was a professor, my dad was a high school teacher, my sister was a teacher, and my brother was a teacher. So I went to teach at University of Louisville. I taught business law for 10 years. And that gave me the time to write a book. I always wanted to write a book about how to be successful as a student and how to be successful as a professional. Fortunately, I got Parkinson's, so I had a whole new dimension to it. It's a joke. One of the things about Parkinson's is you have expressionless face, and your voice is kind of monotone. So it was a great idea to become an inspirational speaker, I guess. But finding out I had Parkinson's, there's a real lack of awareness even in the medical community of Parkinson's. I actually went to a doctor. I had my thumb broken in a soccer match, and he took off the cast, and my hand was shaking. So I went back to him about a week later. I said, "My hand's shaking. Did you cut a nerve or something?" He said, "Well, if I cut a nerve, your hand wouldn't be moving at all." And then he stopped talking. And the next thing he should have said was, "You need to go see a neurologist." Because anyone that's a doctor, especially a famous hand doctor, should know that if your hand is shaking, you need to see a neurologist. Could be Parkinson's, could be essential tremor, could be whatever. But he didn't say that. So there's a real lack of awareness out there. So I went to see this neurologist without any knowledge of him. I went to see another doctor. And on another issue, and she said, "You need to see a neurologist." So I went into the neurologist's office, and I filled out the paperwork, I handed it to her, and she said, "You have Parkinson's disease." I said, "Hold on a second. How do you know that?" She said, "Well, your handwriting is illegible." I said, "Well, I'm an attorney, of course it's illegible." She said, "Your face, your eyes don't blink, face doesn't show any expression, and your arm doesn't swing when you walk." I never noticed that. My arm didn't swing when I walked. It didn't. And I said, "Well," I was in denial right away. I said, "I want a confirmatory test." She said, "Well, that would be an autopsy." I can wait on that. So I also wanted to shock, and anyone would, being diagnosed with Parkinson's at that early age, or being diagnosed with any illness at any age, really. And when I wanted to shock, I saw white light, and everything kind of slowed down. The rest of the day, I don't even remember the rest of the day, driving back to work and doing whatever work I did. And there's two other times in my life I've seen white light. I was in two bus accidents. One where the bus tipped over, and one where the bus went into the trees and the driver was killed. By the way, if you see me on a bus, get off the bus. But I had to deal with this. And what I did was I wrote this book, and I said, what are the things that made me successful as a student, as a professional? And these things will not be foreign to you since you're successful business people as well. First thing I did was I did an assessment. Now, I'd done an assessment before I went to law school, but it was a totally different assessment because I had different skills and abilities at that time. I knew I had cognitive issues, and I couldn't think as straight as I did. And I also couldn't multitask. It was like having I had to focus on one thing on a computer screen, and I couldn't focus on 5 or 6 things. So I knew I couldn't do certain things. So I said, all right, what can I do? And I decided my vision was to become an inspirational speaker and inspire people and educate people on Parkinson's and on other diseases and how to deal with them. Because I meet people every day that are in real suffering situations. I did a speech in San Antonio the other day, and people come up to me afterward and they want to talk to me about what's going on in their lives. And this one gentleman came up to me and he said, I want to speak, I wanted to meet you, and my wife wanted to meet you, but she couldn't make it because she's in a wheelchair and she wasn't feeling well today. And I said, what are you doing right now? I said, what do you mean? I said, I got 3 hours for my plane. Can you get me to your house and the plane in 3 hours? He said, yep. We went and visited with her. And so we went to his house and met with his wife, and he actually went into the kitchen at one point, and she said, I've been thinking about suicide. And I said to her, I understand you're a teacher. She said, yeah, I was a teacher. I said, whose pictures are on the wall? Those are my grandchildren. I said, have you taught them everything that they need to know? She said, no. I said, then you have a reason to live. That's the type of impact I get to make in people's lives. That's just one example. And that makes me feel really good. Mm-hmm. And so the next thing I did was I said, okay, what I need is I need to come up with action steps. Not live my life to the fullest, and come up with action steps. And the 4 action steps I came up with were: take my medication in a timely manner, exercise beyond my comfort zone, eat healthy food, and stay mentally stimulated. Are those the same things that you could do?
Mm-hmm.
They're universal in their impact. Not enough is made of healthy diet. I stopped drinking soda immediately, and I said, I'm going to do everything I could possibly do to make my experience of Parkinson's as good as it can be. Because I want to live a long time, and I want to live a quality life. So my feeling is, my statement to you is, you don't have to have a heart attack to stop eating fatty meat. You don't have to have lung cancer to stop smoking. Be healthy now. Get healthy now. I don't have a choice. My job is to stay as healthy as I can be. I happened to meet someone, my new wife Bernadette, who's an exercise enthusiast and a nutrition enthusiast. And that to me was preordained when we would meet. We met in St. John in the Virgin Islands, and I married her the next month. We've been married for 4 years, and she took me from a 215-pound person with blotchy red skin, big fat face, to 170 pounds. The cholesterol level went from 180 to 90, and you can come and punch me in the stomach if you want, because maybe not 6-pack abs, but I have at least 2-pack abs. So those are the first 2 steps in my book, and that's do an assessment and have a vision for yourself. And my vision is to be as healthy as I can, as long as I can, and then the action steps. Then it goes into the different things that you need to do, which is work hard, be intense, and contacts and resources. And those are all the nuts and bolts of what you do. But I want to get to the 12th one. And this could be the first one, or the 12th one, or anyone in between. The faith. Faith in yourself, faith in others, and faith in your higher power. That's what I rely upon. Faith in myself. And I'll tell you a Ted Williams story. That way we lost the Red Sox. Ted Williams, when he was 65 years old, was interviewed and was asked, how would you do against today's pitching? He said, I'd hit about 200. And Ted Williams in 1941, and I remember this because I was there, the last person hit over 400. So for him to say he could only hit 200 against today's pitching, it was a little shocking to the reporter. So the reporter said, are you telling me the pitchers are that much better today than they were back then? He said, for goodness sake, they're 65 years old. How do you think I can hit? The crazy thing about that is he still thinks he can get 2 hits out of every 10. At best. That's my Ted Williams story. So faith in yourself, faith in others. I have to have faith in my doctor. I have to have faith in my financial advisor. I have to have faith in my physical therapist. One of the benefits of Parkinson's is I had massages. I have an excuse to have massages, and I brought some discount coupons for anyone who wants to get a discount coupon. But I want to also mention a couple of things about the benefits of having Parkinson's. I play in a local poker game with my friends. I stopped taking my medicine the day before. Nobody can tell when I get that 4th queen. My face does not change one bit. I also have a thing called dystonia, which is kind of a weird thing. My left foot cramps. It turns to the side and it's really painful. First time it happened to me, I was in Venice, Italy. And I said to my wife, I don't know what this is, but it hurts like hell, and it's got to have something to do with Parkinson's, because it always has something to do with Parkinson's. So I sat on the side of the road, and I sat on the curb, and she took my hat off and handed it to me upside down and said, make some money while you're down there. I can't make this stuff up. The other thing is, you ever been in the mall and it's a snowy day and you're driving around and you can't find a parking spot? I get this fucking handicap spot. I get parked right up front. So those are my kind of funny things that if you keep a positive attitude, it makes a real difference. Let me end with, because I know you like people to keep it short, and short is better. Let me end with an old adage. You know the expression that the glass is half full or half empty? Half full meaning you're positive and a half empty, meaning you're a negative person, a pessimist. Well, in reality, every glass is full. Why I say that is because there's three elements out there, and not just two. There's solid, it's liquid, and there's gas. The glass is full of solid, liquid, and air. So every glass is full. Think of it that way. From a different perspective, some glasses are beautiful, just the way they are. And people with Parkinson's, I think of as snowflakes. So every one of us is different. But we're beautiful in the way we are. So that's my spiel. If anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Questions, comments?
The word is that Michael Fox is getting some more issues now. If you heard something to that.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
He got it at 29 years old. He's the same age as I am. He's had a rougher time lately. There's a surgery that people don't know about called deep brain stimulation. It drills holes in your head. I am not looking forward to that. But it'll extend my quality of life 5 to 10 years. So I'll do it. I met a guy in New Orleans when I was speaking at a sport group there. And they sent him to pick us up, my wife and I. If I had 2 seatbelts, I would put 2 seatbelts on. This guy had dyskinesia like Michael J. Fox shows. His leg was hitting the accelerator and slowing down, hitting the accelerator and driving erratically. I was scared to death. So I said, when I got there, I said, that guy's not driving us back. Someone else is driving us back home. But I bring that up because he hadn't had DBS. I saw him a year later in Washington at the Parkinson's Action Network where we go march on his Capitol. And he could have been a TV anchorman. He was dressed to the nines. He wasn't shaking at all. He was in great shape. So there's great things that they have now. Michael J. Fox has had DBS. So he's still got issues, and he's going to continue to have issues. You can't. They say you can't slow or stop the progression of Parkinson's. I disagree. There's a video on YouTube under my name where I box for 2.5 minutes on a TV program that you need to watch because it's amazing how I can be like this, and then when the mitts come out and the gloves go on, I'm pounding them away. And if you look up on YouTube, and I know you don't know much about the internet, I guess. By the way, there's a stick. There's a selfie stick that you a stick out with the selfie. Gives you a better selfie. If you look Baumann, B-A-U-M-A-N, and Parkinson's boxing, check out the video. It's pretty cool.
So 2 questions. What has changed over time for you? And then what type of exercise do you do?
What's changed over time is, at first I wasn't feeling it. I was told that my medicine would give me a 5-year honeymoon period that would work for only 5 years. Well, that lasted longer. And I actually worked as a general counsel of a NASDAQ-listed company from my 41st birthday to my 48th birthday. So we actually took it private. So I did some real significant law work. Then I felt myself getting fatigued, not wanting to get up in the morning, getting confused, not making good business decisions. And I said, I can't separate the company from this. So 8 years out, I was starting to deteriorate. And I remember being with my sisters at Christmas and saying I wasn't interacting with family, I was drinking too much, I hit rock bottom. I felt like I was really depressed. And I went to see a seminar, and I heard one person say one thing. And if you've gotten one thing out of the speech today, I think I've done my job. And they said, exercise beyond your comfort zone. So I went back and I got a personal trainer. And it turned out he was a personal counter, because all he did was count. I went to St. John in the Virgin Islands on vacation. And I met this woman that just changed my life. And this was in January of 2012. January 31st, 2012, I moved her to Louisville, Kentucky, where I live. And I watched her do Shaun T. Insanity. And she was jumping over imaginary logs and doing the Heisman maneuver, which is funny because I'm supposed to be the one that hallucinates. And she doesn't know football at all, so I don't know why she knows the Heisman maneuver. She never forced me to do anything. And I started doing it with her. I didn't do it well, but I started doing it with her. And I said to her, can you get me, and she was feeding me proper food because she only made healthy food. And I said to her, can you put together an exercise program for me? She said, sure. So I started on the treadmill for an hour a day. And I moved to the elliptical machine for an hour a day. And I moved to the spin bike interval training where you stand up and sit down, stand up and sit down. And then I did some Shaun T. Then we started doing kettlebells, which the instructor didn't think I would be able to do, but I did. And then we did boxing fitness. And then we found Bikram hot yoga. Bikram hot yoga is, if you've never heard of it, is 105 degrees, 90 minutes, torture. But I felt so good after doing it. I felt so good. I felt normal. I felt like I was flexible. I wasn't slowing down. I was stretched. I was detoxified, and I was feeling great. That I would do Bikram hot yoga one day, and then boxing the next day, an hour of boxing. And I did it every day because I was looking to transform myself, which is what actually happened when I lost basically 45 pounds. And I attribute my success in either reversing, slowing, or whatever, my Parkinson's, by my diet and my exercise. Because those are the only things that I have control of. And I'm not going to go back to school and become a research scientist and find a cure. Someone else has got to do that, but I can do that. I can do that. I can exercise and I can eat right.
You mentioned research. Is there any promising research on Parkinson's right now?
There is, but the focus really has been making quality of life the best possible. That's the focus. I'm actually a representative, an ambassador to a drug that if you go off, if you become frozen, they can do an injection into my stomach, and I'm on within 5 minutes. And that's the type of thing they've been focusing on, but they haven't found the biomarker. It's called a biomarker. Every disease has a biomarker. Once you find the biomarker, what triggers it, then you can start working on a cure. They haven't found a biomarker. I think it's because, just like cancer, there's so many different cancers, but they're all lumped together by the fact that you have malignant tumors. There's lots of different Parkinson's. If they focus on not that there's one Parkinson's, but there's 20 varieties or 100 varieties, I think they'll have a better chance of finding cures for some of them, and it'll mushroom into cures for all of them.
About how many cities per year do you visit giving public speeches?
I love Manhattan, Kansas. I've been here for 3 days. I spoke to a group yesterday at Civic Pro, and I spoke to a group Tuesday night for Annie Roberts' memorial, her mother with Mary and memorial program. I speak at maybe 25 a year, and I've been doing it for almost 10 years. I've been invited to Malaysia, so I went to Malaysia for a week. I've been invited to Paris. Paris was kind of cool because they invited me to come to Paris, brought my wife with me, stayed for 3 days, they paid for everything, paid me a fee, and they wanted me to talk for half an hour. And the only comment I got was it went too long. I was trying to give you your value per minute, but there's people out there that want to hear what I have to say. And if you watch my YouTubes, I think you'll appreciate it because there's a lot of optimism there. You'll find a lot of optimism. I'm optimistic about my future, and I feel like I'm doing the best I can, and I have a purpose. I thought my purpose was when I worked as a corporate attorney, a company went from 900 employees to 1,500. So that was 600 new employees we brought on board over the 12 years I was there. They could put food on the table and a roof over their heads for their entire family. that was powerful. That's powerful, and that's purpose. That was a good purpose, but that wasn't my purpose. It was something I did, but it wasn't my purpose. I found out that this was my purpose, because I can touch people who have Parkinson's and see the pain in their eyes and give them hope that they can do what I've done.